Welcome to Migration Minded, the Dynamics 365 web series where we dig into important modernization considerations with Dynamics AX and Dynamics CRM experts to help support your cloud transformation thinking. My name is Thomas Newski. I'm a global product marketing manager for Dynamics 365. Today I have the pleasure of chatting with Shawn Tabor, 5-year Microsoft MVP, on user adoption within field service, some common migration challenges, and the benefits or the potential benefits that cloud can offer customers. Based in Tampa, Florida, Shawn is Hitachi's principal architect for field service and has worked in the Microsoft Dynamics space since 2006. So with that, let's get started. Hey, Shawn, how's it going?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So, Shawn, within field service, what have been some of your biggest observations around user adoption, and what are some of the challenges that you've seen?
So, when I think about user adoption in field service, there's a number of levels of user adoption. There's not just a single persona, if you will, to consider. And that's really because there's different experiences within the solution depending on whether or not you're a dispatcher or a technician or a back office worker. We had Hitachi Solutions have worked really hard to build a change advisory practice to point specifically to that issue.
So, can you expand on Change Advisory a little bit? What are some of the main impacts that it provides from your perspective, and what does it add? What value does it add to implementations?
Sure. So the change impact can come, like I said, with various roles. So when you understand a customer's current state in order to understand where to drive them going forward in the future, that's really important. That's critical. A lot of times I find that those minor tweaks and improvements can matter. Overall, you want to achieve successful ROI, clearly. But if you save a worker 5-10 hours a week, over time, that is huge, right? I'll give you an example. I had a customer where we had a situation where they were creating data manually as part and parcel of their work with their customers, their end customers. We built them a Canvas app that automated a good chunk of that capability, and that saved them hours per day. That alone is going to achieve our ROI on what they were experiencing.
So, how are you evaluating the current state of customers?
Well, we try to look at all our customers on a maturity model. So, for example, if you have if you have a company that is new to field service, they might be providing service to their customers, but they're new to field service in terms of software, automation. That I would put them at like a level 0. It's more ad hoc, reactionary, mostly tracked in Excel or paper. You know, they feel like they're effective, but they could do more. Then you go to level 1. Level 1 is more, it's more migration of that implementation of field services to the next level. It's not very customized. It's pretty standard. You're effectively documenting electronically the work you're doing. And then when you're looking at a level 3, that's more converting a service to a different field service solution. And then 3 to 4, you're looking at serialized assets, IoT. And then when you get to level 5, then it's full on predictive maintenance and a lot of automation.
Thanks for that. So, what other considerations should we be thinking about with regards to user adoption?
Really, it's you have to consider things like the environment of the customer. You have to look at things like offline sync. Is offline important to them? We have customers, for example, in the utility or oil and gas industries where connectivity is very low once they're on the job site. So offline access to data is critical and crucial. Um, the customer utility, if you have workers again in the utility industry and they need to wear protective gloves to protect their hands, we need to make sure when dealing with the mobile app that they have capacitive fingertips on their gloves so that they can access the app and interoperate with those chunky gloves, right? We have to look at things like if you're working in a warehouse and you want to be able to do voice activated processing where you can instead of having to write notes, you could do audio recordings, things like that. Those are the things that you have to look at from a user perspective to ensure that you're capturing the right areas of user adoption to maximize the benefit to those workers. Lastly, I would talk about back office workers, understanding how the impact to their processes from a field service perspective are captured within ERP, right? What are the things that they're doing in the field that affect them or impact them in a positive manner? Focusing on those and driving those forward, I think, is critical.
Sure. So, based on those scenarios, how do you think, or how could the migrating to the cloud really add value to an organization or help it out?
Well, I mean, really, moving to the cloud gives you a lot more capabilities. You're not as rigid in your implementation and limited in your focus. So, for example, I, for about 15 years, worked in financial services, and the move to the cloud was, that was not something that they wanted to do, right? And that was mainly because of securities, um, privacy standards, and just overall strategy. The cloud has grown in all of those capabilities and abilities so much in the last 5 to 10 years that those barriers to entry are virtually gone. If you also need to connect your cloud-based environment to legacy on-prem solutions, let's say you have a legacy system that just has no capability to go to the cloud, you can leverage the on-prem gateway to where you can connect these two systems and have the best of both worlds. And moving to the cloud, especially with those legacy systems, really improves your ability to maintain overall your system. You're reducing the points that you have to maintain on a daily basis. You're reducing your imprint for hardware investment. All that's in the cloud, and you have so much more processing power in the cloud than you would have on prem historically. So it's definitely not an all or none situation. You can move and have a hybrid implementation that would be effective for your organization.
What about, like, say, with regards to data migration? How is user adoption impacted there?
So data migration, you really have to work with your customer to understand the data. And the reason for that is when you're on-prem, save all the data you want. You just add more disk space and you just keep going and going, right? Whereas with the cloud, there are obviously costs to having storage in the cloud. With Dynamics 365, there's different types of storage which improve that pricing scenario. However, you still need to identify what data is critical, either business critical or user process critical, and migrate the data that's necessary, not migration of data just to migrate data. That would be one of the biggest things for me. And the need of the data and an explanation of what they're going to do with the data and how they're going to leverage that data once it's migrated. If you can get to a level of understanding there and a plan for how to maybe wean them off of certain data sets so that that can be pushed off into a different repository for historical usage, that is probably the key to success there.
Yeah, that's great. I think, it's really important for customers to understand that moving to the cloud doesn't mean that they're going to be losing functionality.
Right.
What else? Any final thoughts for us?
So what I would say is migrating to the cloud does not need to be a scary scenario. Also, managing user adoption while moving to the cloud can also be a very beneficial scenario for your business. It will help you better understand your users, how they're leveraging the system, and how the system can benefit them. And through change advisory services, like what we offer at Hitachi Solutions, you can have a map to focus on those challenges, develop plans and strategies, and have an effective user adoption within your organization.
That's great. Thanks for sharing your insights with us and helping us understand that, migrating the cloud is not necessarily an all or nothing move, that it's an evolving business decision. Thanks so much, Shawn.
No problem. Thanks for having me again.
This has been Migration Minded. If you have migration questions, join our Dynamics 365 migration community where you can connect with experts like Shawn there. And if you're just getting started with your migration journey, I highly recommend our standard migration assessment and the accompanying resources. Until next time, see you then.